And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China.
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what?
China.
All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese.
China.
Russian.
Russia.
Italian.
Italy.
German.
Germany.
Swedish.
Sweden.
Korean.
Korea.
Egyptian.
Egypt.
Nigerian.
Nigeria.
Black.
Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
The same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black.
נחשף ביערות בורקינה פאסו, שבט קניבלים נטו נטו. שלום למנהיג השבט קזבובו.
שלום עליכם. אברהם יצחק יעקב, יודע עברית, שולחן, חשבונית, קובי פרץ, מוטלס, יבוטאו.
מר קזבובו, כולנו כאן בישראל מופתעים ונרגשים נוכח האפשרות שתעלו ארצה.
קזבובו שמח, 2000 שנות גלות נגמר, רואים אור בקצה של מנהרה.
אתם בטוחים שאתם יהודים?
התחלנו על חנן. אם הוא שחור הוא לא יהודי?
לא בגלל שהוא שחור, הוא...
מה הוא מה?
קניבל.
ומי אתה שתגיד לו מה לאכול, אם הוא קניבל הוא לא יהודי?
אולי תבוא, תעשה אצלנו שבת?
זה לא שיש לי משהו אישי נגדכם, אבל הפלשמורה למשל תקועים.
להתחיל לאסוף את המסתננים, לא צריך לחכות לבג"ץ, לא צריך שום דבר.
אני רואה חרא מחוץ לבית שלי, יריקות, פסיכופטים, אנשים שרק מחפשים איך לרצוח אותי בעיניים שלהם, אבל אף אחד לא מאמין לנו. אנחנו גזענים כדי לרצות לשמור על החיים שלנו ועל השפיות שלנו. אז אני גאה בלהיות גזענית, אני גאה בלהיות גזענית. אם אני גזענית בשביל לשמור על החיים שלי, אז אני גאה.
את עם פושי לנסוע! את תנסוע עם פושי! לכי את והוא! תלכי מפה! תלכי! את תנסוע עם פושי! לכי! לא מתביישת!
The same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black and the vernacular that we're supposed to have. When the schools suggest it, like the herding systems, because what they do is take the black community and they separate us, and they separate the families, and the educated, they push this need for higher education, and us as blacks, we discriminate against each other and say, well, I got my PhD and you don't have your PhD, so I'm better than you. And
you know what you are? You know what you are? You're an ancient Israelite.
Ancient Israel, that's who we are. That's who we are. So if you give me time, if you give me time, already said,
no, we don't have
so many years.
I know. Look at this. This is pages and pages of notes. And I promise we'll give more teaching. But here is my challenge to you.
All right.
I'm hearing some of your traditions. It's like the days of the Bible.
Yes.
Do you want to remain ancient Israelites, or you want to be Jews? Do you want to remain ancient Israelites, or you want to be Jews? Do you want to remain? I'm hearing some of your traditions. It's like the days of the Bible.
Yes.
Do you want to remain ancient Israelites, or you want to be Jews? That is the question I have for you.
Thank you. I'll answer that question.
Go ahead, I will help you.
After the demise of Solomon, we now have the northern and southern kingdom of Israel.
Yes.
So when we talk about Jews, Jews are Israelites, but all Israelites are not Jews. The 10 tribes that got lost are not Jews. They were Israelites. Jews are Israelites, but all Israelites are not Jews. The 10 tribes that got lost are not Jews. They were Israelites. Jews are Israelites, but all Israelites are not Jews. The 10 tribes that got lost are not Jews. They were Israelites. So when we talk about Jews, Jews are Israelites, but all Israelites are not Jews. The 10 tribes that got lost are not Jews. They were Israelites.
Well, it's depending.
So minority cannot swallow the majority. We are here. We are the majority down here. So you are minority, and we are older than you.
I'm so glad you're here because you can bring great clarity. Can you tell us a little bit about the Sephardic? I'm so glad you're here because you can bring great clarity. Can you tell us a little bit about the Sephardic Jews and how they were scattered? Because they went west.
I sure can.
Because the reason why I want to is because a lot of them, and a lot of people don't know this, are in the Caribbean.
They are.
In the islands.
And you're one of them. I know that.
I'm one of them.
I know that.
Because, a lot of folk don't know that those roots are there. One of the first batches of slaves that came to Jamaica, they were the Sephardic Jews. It's documented.
And they're all over the Caribbean, South America, Central America, and even the South Central United States.
Wow.
And DNA testing is a factor in all this now.
Genesis chapter 11, verse 10. Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you.
See, I'm having all kinds of issues tonight with StreamYard. Suddenly, it's doing all kinds of things that it hasn't done before. Videos are delayed and looping, and right now I probably sound delayed. You probably see skipping inside the video, so that comes with the territory, I guess. There's nothing wrong with my PC. There's nothing wrong with my bandwidth, but I'm having issues with StreamYard here on my end. It's like really locking up. So I'm not sure how long I'm going to be able to do this here because it's really locking up pretty bad. So hopefully it'll subside. Let's see if it works here. All right, if I sound all right, just type 1. If everything sounds all right, if my voice sounds okay, type 1. Let's see here. Yeah, this is ridiculous on what's happening with my StreamYard. Everything was fine until I mean, literally just before I went live, everything was fine. I wasn't having any issues until I actually went live. So apologies for the delay, and apologies if things don't appear to be the way it need to appear on your end. I'm a perfectionist. I like things to roll a certain way. So my apologies if it's not displaying on your screen like it should. So let's see who we have in the chat as we get ready to get started here. All right. Look like I see Teo, brother Teo, Minister Teo, excuse me. Look like I see him in the chat. I think I saw Sister Carol in the chat. And family, it'll be hard for me to go through the chat right now. For some reason, there are delays and all kinds of stuff happening with this here. So prayerfully, it'll ease up here and we'll go get into our shout outs. And I was on the fence on what I was going to do tonight. And I was thinking possibly of just doing like a Q&A, answering a number of questions. But then also, I wanted to just get some history just to kind of talk about the parallel of what we see that occurred in Egypt with our ancestors, and what we see today, to really go through the Passover in terms of some of the things that we went through as a people, just so that way we can understand the significance of the Passover. And when we really talk about Egypt, when we start talking, discuss that captivity and really talk about that captivity, only one group of people line up with Egypt that went through what the scripture says. You have others when you ask them, hey, what type of bondage, when you ask them about Deuteronomy 28:68, and you ask them, hey, when were your people ever in bondage? If all you can go to is Egypt, then there's a problem. Because Egypt happened prior to Deuteronomy 28:68, right? So many, some would just default to, the Egyptian captivity. But we as a people, we could go beyond Egypt. We could go through the captivities that we see highlighted in the book of Judges. We could go through the captivities that's highlighted in Jeremiah. Of course, you'll see a reflection of that in Nehemiah. You'll see a reflection of that in Ezekiel. We could go through, highlight different captivities we had to be subjected to when we deal with the Syrians, when we deal with the Greeks, the time of the Maccabees. Even when we fast forward beyond that, we could talk about a number of captivities that we had to deal with. If we want to even deal with the situation we had to deal with when our ancestors fled, some of us, our ancestors fled to India, right? Yes, some of our ancestors fled to India. And guess what? The same ones that owned those slave ships followed our people to India and inserted a caste system, right? So no matter where we go at, we had to deal with a type of captivity no matter where we go at. Deuteronomy 28:68 applying to us. And then when we get to the sub-Sahara or the Arabic slave trade, then we get past the Arabic slave trade, which is still going today, still continuing today. But then we get to the transatlantic world war, right? Even though it's labeled a slave trade, but it's a world war where all the religious systems and most of these nations, that are in superpowers right now. They were part of the enslavement of our people, the kidnapping, the rapturing of our people. So we are the only group of people that we can really highlight the history and show the history of what we had to endure as a people. All right. So, like I said, I was on the fence, but what I'll do is I'll drop the link when we get to a certain point. And if any one of you guys want to jump on, feel free to do so. But I do want to touch a little bit on Moses, and then we could kind of open it up a little bit. Teo, if you want to come on, feel free. Sister Carol, some of you guys that are in the chat, feel free to do so. But let's go ahead and get into it. Let me go ahead and just stretch the screen out here. And I know some of you guys have seen some of my presentations that I've done on the Negro Messiah, anything but the Negro, so man, this thing is just really behaving sluggish here. This is ridiculous. This is the worst that it's done. And I've closed out programs just to make sure that there's nothing interfering with the performance of my machine here. Yeah, bear with me, family. But let's go and get into it. And prayerfully, again, the problems that I'm having will start easing up. So I want to say to my brothers and sisters, I hope you guys are enjoying the Pasach. I know some of you guys enjoyed it. Began honoring the Passover on Tuesday, or should I say the evening of Tuesday, which would transition over to Wednesday, the middle of the week, or the fourth day of the week, and some have done it Monday. It's not a deal breaker when it comes to it. I'm not one of those that really get caught up into that, because for me, the biggest thing is we're doing something that initially we never did before for the most part in our community. Most of us have never done that before. So for us as a community to really start making it a assertive effort to honor the Passover versus doing the things that we were indoctrinated to do, like Christmas, things that are not even biblical, and it's just amazing, family. And I'm going to get into the lesson. The very scriptures like Colossians chapter 2, we've been indoctrinated to use those passages against honoring the feast days, right? When you do the proper hermeneutics on Colossians, especially chapter 2, actually it's the reverse. It speaks against Christmas. It speaks against these pagan holidays that are meshed with the word. Think about it, family. Think about all the scriptures that have been used to discredit and discourage us from honoring the law, statutes, and commandments, from honoring the feast days, from honoring the Shabbat. But yet those arguments are actually, technically, those scriptures are actually speaking against what we see happening right now in Christianity, what's occurring right now in Catholicism, right? The very things that the Most High said he loves, we've been conditioned, we've been institutionalized to saying that, no, the Most High don't love these things over here. He loves this over here. He loves us celebrating the delusion. All right. So those are some of the things, and I just was thinking about that with Colossians. You can literally use Colossians to completely debunk Christmas and all those things. So when Apostle Paul, or when we see that letter, don't allow these double-minded people who's pushing traditions of men judge us by how we honor and choose to honor the feast days. That's the proper context. These people that are lying, these people are pushing traditions of men, these people that are pushing paganism, these people that are teaching false or bending and twisting the scripture, transgressing these work of iniquities. Don't let them judge you by you choosing to honor the feast days, because the feast days, and it makes it clear, the feast days, the new moons, those are a shadow of things to come. In other words, a taste test of the good things to come. But we've been taught those scriptures. We've been institutionalized to look at that as a shadow, like it's a bad thing, like it's, taste testing of, it's a bad thing. Anyway, all right, that's enough of that. That's enough of that. But you know how it goes, family. Got to speak the truth. Got to speak the truth. We have to speak the truth, and so we're going to go ahead and get into it. Let's go and get into it. I don't want to prolong the time getting into this lesson, but the Negro Messiah, calculated witchcraft. Let me say that again. The Negro Messiah, calculated witchcraft. Let me say it one more time. The topic for today is the Negro Messiah. You guys remember the lesson I started off with years ago that I was teaching internally, that I was teaching on Facebook about anything but the Negroes. You know what I mean? Anything but the Negroes, right? We can, prior to coming into this side of the Jordan, so to speak, when you talk about the Messiah's complexion, and I'm sure you guys have heard it before. Hey, you know what? It doesn't matter. Christ, his color is everybody's color. His blood is everybody. Everybody is Christ, right? But the more and more you start proving who Christ really is, when you start really proving that Christ looks like you, that Christ looks like me, then all of a sudden, it doesn't matter. All of a sudden, it doesn't matter how Christ look. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how he looks, but as long as the color of him was blood, the color of the blood was red, or maybe you're right. I believe that Christ, the Messiah, I believe that he more than likely he wasn't Caucasian. He wasn't a white person, but more than likely he was olive. You guys heard that before, right? More than likely he's olive. And the olive that they're referring to is not the ripe olive, not the blue black olive. What they're referring to, they're referring to that unripe olive, that green olive, right? That's what they're really referring to. They're not referring to that blue black olive. They're not referring to that dark olive. So anything but the Negro. Everyone else can say that they're Israel, but don't let the Negro say it. Now, the Negro can't even say that. Some Negroes who choose to say that they're connected to Egypt. Look at what happened to Kevin Hart when he said that the Egyptians are black. Look at what happened to when Kevin Hart said the Egyptians are black. Look what they did. He got canceled. He got canceled. When do we ever think that we'll live in a day and time that now it's to the point we can't say anything? We can't say anything but the Negro. You see what happened? Everybody can taunt us, like what just happened in the women's championship game, basketball game. Anyone can taunt us. They could go and taunt and give the hand and give all kinds of gestures. But when it comes to our community, we better not do it back to them. We better not do that back to them. If we did that, then look what happens. Look at the labels, like what happened to Angel Reese. Now she's being called classless. Now she's being called tasteless. Now she's being called all kinds of names. But when Caitlyn Jenner or Caitlyn Clark or whatever her name is, when she was doing that, she got labeled as the queen of clapbacks. So anything but the Negro, anything but the Negro. If you guys agree with that, type 1. Anything but the Negro, anything but the Negro. We're the only ones that can't even celebrate in our victories. We can't even celebrate, and that's still confirming Deuteronomy 28, right? We can't celebrate because someone else is going to take credit for it. Someone else is going to always, basically throw salt, rain in on our parade. Come on, family. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into this, family. Let's get into this. Enough of that. Let's get into it. Right now, I'm not going to show this video here, but this is a great video about, I'll just let it play just a little bit, but this is a video. I encourage you guys to look it up. My bandwidth here, but I encourage you guys to look this video up. So I don't want to get into it because, like I said, it's going to take a little time to do. So what I want to highlight here is this article that's titled "Preventing the Rise of a Messiah." Preventing the rise of a Messiah. And one of the things that Christianity, Catholicism, what their educational institutions called seminaries has done to us, what it's done is you go to these schools and they teach you, they indoctrinate you to teaching the scriptures from their perspective. Teach the scriptures to continue to support and perpetuate these lies, to teach the scriptures and teach you to read the scriptures a certain way so you wouldn't even pick up on certain nuggets. You know, you're teaching an agenda. You're teaching an interpretation. You're teaching the things that the very people that have taken this heritage, taken our heritage, repackaged it and thrown it back in our face, came up with all of these institutions to further their agenda. Right? So when you understand the word Messiah, the way that we were taught about the word Messiah from the from these institutions, we weren't taught properly what the word Messiah means. This word Messiah, like the word deliverer, that word Messiah, Mashiach, was used for the priests. It was used for the kings, like King David when he was anointed. Right? You'll see this word there. So this word Mashiach simply means anointed. Right? And so the government understands this because they say preventing the rise of what? A black or Negro Messiah. We don't understand this. We've been taught that there's only one anointed, which there is only one that's anointed to do what the Messiah accomplished, to redeem us as a people. But when you study the scriptures, every time Israel was in a captivity, the Most High anointed people to lead them out of that captivity. Not far as be the redeemer, not to be the one that's going to be the ransom. But when we look at it from a biblical perspective and understanding each time Israel was placed into a captivity, just like the book of Judges, again, Israel sinned before the Most High. He raised up what? Deliverers when they cried out. Then when you get to Obadiah, the last couple of verses, you'll see there, I believe verse 24 or whatever, it says he's going to raise up saviors. But it's a big difference of the Messiah, the ransom that the Most High is have used to redeem his people. But we've been taught incorrectly, because when we think of the word Messiah, right, we completely miss it in the proper application of it. So again, preventing the rise of a Messiah, not the Messiah, but someone or some individuals that the Most High can use to start waking us up, to start pushing the narrative that we need to separate ourselves. Deliverers, plural. There was times he sent multiple deliverers. So Israel as a community, right, they were teaching, raising each one of their children to do what? To be potential deliverers. See, when I grabbed hold of that, understanding the concept from an ancient Hebraic perspective, every last one of us are supposed to be raising our children to be a deliverer, a potential deliverer. That's why it's multiple deliverers. But there's only one Messiah, the one anointed one that was anointed to redeem, anointed to be the ransom for our people that Isaiah 53 talks about. but you're supposed to raise your children to be a deliverer. The Most High can use your children to deliver your entire family, break strongholds. Some of you guys may be the deliverer for your family. You may be the first one that was able to go off to school, graduating for high school, go off to college, be the first. You was allowed to break curses within your family, or should we say consequences. All right. But anyway, I encourage you guys to watch the lesson that I did titled Words of Confusion. And I really break down deliverers. I break down the word Messiah, deliverers, messiahs, and saviors. All right. But let's see what this says here. That's enough of that. I know I'm doing a lot of talking, but let's get into it because I see a few of you guys here inside the chat, and I want to get you guys in on this. So, Preventing the Rise of a Messiah by Jonathan David Farley. Notice what it says here, right? Hoover, Edward or Edgar Hoover, right, issued another directive, right? This is where you start dealing with Cointelpro, right? The whole agenda was to try to suppress anyone within our community that will motivate us to say enough is enough, to motivate us to say that, you know what, we're not going to continue to bow down and let you treat us any kind of way. We're not going to, we can have our own businesses. We can establish our own communities. We don't need to be part of your community. Actually, that's what began to happen when you start understanding Red Summer. The government already knew that and declared an all-out war on over 36 communities across this country. It wasn't just Tulsa, but look up some of these others. You had Delaware, you had Baltimore, you had New York, melanated communities, Florida, South Carolina, but Nebraska. You'd be surprised. Declared an all-out war and bombed and destroyed many of these communities. So Hoover issued another directive, prevent the rise of a Messiah who could unify. Think about this. This is the key. Don't think about, when you think of Messiah in this tense, don't think about the HaMashiach, because we've been so dumbed down. Many would go into there like, oh, they trying to raise up another the Redeemer. No, that's not what this is saying. Someone that are chosen, someone has the gift, someone that's anointed, someone that can unify us. As it says here, prevent the rise of a Messiah who could unify this. They're not looking at this from a biblical perspective, but a Messiah who can unify. They're not looking at this by of the Christ, but someone, according to, like when we look at the book of Judges, the multiple captivities, raise up deliverers that's going to what the Most High will use to unify us, like with Moses, and electrify the militant Black nationalist movement. Malcolm X might have been such a Messiah. Martin Luther King, Stokely Carmichael, and Nation of Islam leader Elijah Muhammad all aspired to this position. Goes on to say King could be a very real contender for this position should he abandon his supposed obedience to white liberal doctrines. In other words, the doctrines of nonviolence. Family, when you really study the papers, the history of this, you will see that Edward Hoover, I keep butchering his name, Hoover, right? He was in partnership with the Catholic Church, the Archdiocese up in Pennsylvania, creating fake brochures, pretending that it was the Black Panthers doing it to stir up controversy. I got the documents to prove it. I didn't put it in here. I got the documents to prove it. So here's the key to their strategy, as what I alluded to. Hoover directed his agents to prevent militant Black nationalist groups and leaders from gaining respectability by discrediting them to the white community. Doesn't that sound like what we have to go through in this awakening? Come on, family. Come on. I see Teo Ministry up in here. Teo Ministry, Minister Yacoba, Minister Teo, Sister Carol, if my cousin Major, you guys know what I'm talking about, because each one of us had to deal with this from people within the church. They can't do anything to discredit what you're saying, so they try to discredit your reputation. Notice what it says here. Hoover directed his agents to prevent militant Black nationalist groups and leaders from gaining respectability by discrediting them to the white community, but not just to the white community, to our own community as well. Notice what it says here. Favorite Cointelpro operations is the one dealing with colored books. So now they're using children's books. Notice what it says here. The FBI created children's coloring books showing Blacks murdering whites, ostensibly made by the Black Panther Party to indoctrinate Black children at Panther schools, so the white and moderate Blacks would be repulsed by these radicals. See, they want to paint the picture that anyone that is speaking liberation. See, there used to be what is called liberation theology, but our people got away from that. The preachers and bed buddies with the oppressors stop teaching liberation, a liberation perspective of the text, especially after they, when you start getting into Denmark Weezy. I always mess his name, butcher his name, but that's where they got the character the Django from, down in South Carolina, right? When you go down to South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina, and you start understanding the situation there with Emmanuel, the assembly down there, where they were teaching identity, teaching the people how to read and recite Hebrew, making it clear that they are the people of the book. But once they murdered those people, many of the Negro pastors from that point on began to shift and got away from teaching liberation, teaching that we don't need anyone. We could write our own, keep a journal of our own events. We can create our own publications. We can do exactly what use our gifts for ourselves. We don't need to be suppressed by these people. We don't need to target out that community over there and use them as the barometer of what's right and what's not, what's righteousness and what's not, what's unrighteousness or unrighteous, excuse me. So this is that whole game plan. And family, I'm going to show you some of the things that we had to deal with as a people today. That game plan comes all the way back from the Egyptians. So that whites and moderate Blacks will be repulsed by these radicals. Let me go back here. FBI created children's coloring books showing Blacks murdering whites, ostensibly made by the Black Panther. In other words, they made these coloring books and pretending that it was the Black Panthers that created this, and lying that this is what the Black Panthers are using to indoctrinate the young people. So that whites and moderate Blacks, those that are what, trying to do a Rodney King thing, can't we all get along, would be repulsed by these supposed radicals. See, at that time, Martin Luther King and all those guys, they were labeled communists. Come on, look it up. Martin Luther King was labeled a communist. Anyone from our community that was teaching liberation, they were labeled a communist. Malcolm X was labeled a communist. So that's the agenda. Which brings us back to King. No doubt this week, much will be made of the FBI snooping on King and King's alleged sexual escapades. What will not be thought about much in America is that the primary source for this questionable information was Hoover, who ironically called King a notorious liar. Doesn't this sound familiar with the playbook? So you have liars wanting to spread defamation, want to defame someone's character when they are the very ones that are lying. Doesn't that sound familiar, family? You have people that are straight liars. They are liars, but they want to bear witness and try to come up and make up or supposedly be credible people to try to talk about our character. Am I correct, family? If you guys agree with this type 1, if you disagree with it, type 2. I'm going to call it what it is, right? This is getting into the true Passover, right? To understand the Passover from a true perspective. If you guys agree with me, type 1. If you disagree with me, type 2. And it's all good. It's all good. It's all good if you disagree. But notice what it says here. So again, Hoover, who was doing all kinds of deceptive practices, right? Lying, but want to put this stuff out there about Martin Luther King, right? When the primary source, the person that's pushing this, is a liar. But unfortunately, you know how our people are. Because today you still have people talking about it. They don't talk about King's accomplishment. Oh, well, look, he cheated on his wife. You got people even, oh, yeah, King plagiarized. Come on, family. What were you doing at the age of 25? This man started at the age of 22, 23 years old, laying his life down for this community. And guess what? Hoover's plan worked because many of our brothers and sisters are discrediting, running with the things that they put out there. Doesn't that sound familiar? So Hoover, who ironically called King a notorious liar at a 1964 press conference, and was even so petty as to try to stop a university from giving King an honorary doctorate degree. An honorary degree. He stooped so low and tried to throw shade on the honorary degree that Dr. King was presented. Come on, family. Come on, family. That's how conniving they were. That's how still is. Wanted to down him so bad that they even tried to prevent him from getting an honorary doctorate degree, an honorary degree that was being presented to him. Tried to defame him so bad to make it so that way the university don't even want to give it to him and the people don't honor him. Come on, family. It's the playbook is right here, family. So a key person that the Most High used to lead Israel, right, to be a deliverer to the Israelites is Moses, Mashah. Exodus chapter 2, verse 9 through 10. And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give thee thy wages. And the woman took the child and nursed it. And the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and she became her son, and she called his name Moses. And the ancient pronunciation of it is Mashah. And she said, because I drew him out of the water, Mayam. So again, she drew him out of the water. She brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. So when we understand, and this is a little source here, Near East Studies, to give you more clarity with the word Moses or Mose, or in the ancient pronunciation, Mashah, right? This is what this is breaking down, showing that in the Egyptian culture, Mashah is found also in the Old Testament under the name Ramsey or Ra Mashah, right? Where, however, the Egyptian verbal form in the original name is a perfect past participle. Perfect participle. And this is where you see Ra Mashah, right? So again, it says Ra, or here you see Ray. There was no Ray or Re sounds inside the ancient language, the ancient Hebrew language. But anyway, but it says Ray is he that born him. All right. So this goes on to say here, it says the word Moshe or Mashah means son. It means born. It is a very common element in Egyptian theophoric names such as Thutmoses, son of Thoth. In other words, Thoth is born. Ramses, son of Ra. Moses, son of Ah. So in Moses' case, it simply means son or born, right? But we could take it a step further, how Moses' name took on a different meaning. It's a different meaning among the Israelites, starting with the Pharaoh's daughter, right? Because Moses could not be named son of any of Pharaoh because he's not part of that bloodline. If he was, then he would be the actual Pharaoh's name will be on here, the prefix, like we see Tut Moses or Ramsey, Ra Moses, Ah Moses. So in this case, Moses just went by Masha or Moshe in the Israeli. So Masha, naming in Egyptian, means son of. But from a Hebraic perspective, we see, and I'm going to show you how Moses or Pharaoh's daughter put a different name on it, a different meaning rather. So Masha, the primitive root, means to pull out. It means to draw out because he was drawing out the water, right? This is the primitive root, Masha. And again, in ancient Hebrew, you didn't see all these dots. You didn't have vowel letters, right? So when you say Moshe, that's Israeli pronunciations. But you go to the primitive root word, Masha. All right. But again, it means to draw out, it means to pull out. So Moses' name means to pull out, it means to draw out, right? And this is just giving you some background on each letter. If you broke down each letter, it ties into exactly what his name means. Masha, right? The Mayam, water, sea, danger, transition. Shan, teeth, tool. The Ha, reveal, uncover, open. And this is, you can even take this all the way back to the word Mashayak, right? Because every person that the Most High choose, they have to be led or the Most High will lead them to help transition their people from one point to another, right? They'll be used as a tool, right? They'll also have to have what? A relationship with them. They have to be studied as well. So the Most High can reveal and uncover and open up his plan to them. So the Hebrew word mayam means water. It means transition. It means danger. That's why I have the pictograph here, right? Because I like to give illustrations or imagery just so that way you can really, this can really sink in, because the ancient letters will give you all what I'm explaining, will explain everything that I'm mentioning to you right now. So when we go to Exodus chapter 2, verse 1, notice this here, right? This is, and I want to get one last point here, and I'll open it up and I'll drop the link inside the chat. But it says here, and there went a man of the house of Levi and took to wife a daughter of Levi, and the woman conceived and bare a son. When she saw him that he was a goodly child, she hid him 3 months. All right. So this is important. There's a lot of nuggets here. And one of them is she saw that he was a goodly child. Right. And we're going to talk about that real quick. But let's go to chapter 6, verse 20. Right. Dealing with Moses' parents. And Amram took him Jochebed, right? Kabad, which means Yah, right? And then when you see the other portion of it, glorified or glory. Kabad is glory in Hebrew. So, but anyway, and Amram took him Jochebed or Kabad, his father's sister, to wife, and she bare him Aaron, Aharon, and Moses, Masha, right? And in the years of the life of Amram was 137 years. But notice what it says here, right? Breaking down Amram's name. This is what his name means. High people. Amram name means high people. So this tells you just off of his name alone, he was a descendant of the Levites. This is before the Levitical priests even exist. But this tells you that he was honorable. This tells you even in the midst of the captivity, the Egyptian captivity, he was still honorable. Family, can we still be honorable? Can we still be considered honorable in this captivity that we're dealing with? Can we still have that impeccable reputation in spite of what we're dealing with right now? Yes, we can. There's no excuse for some of the behaviors that we see among our community. We still can carry ourselves in a very respectful manner in spite of what's going on around us. So Amram tells you that high people means that he was very respectful or very respected. right? This says a lot about it just in his name alone. Exalted people, right? His name means exalted people, high people, right? I'm not going to go through breaking down his name, but the key is this tells you just from his first letter of his name, which is the ayan, which means eye, sight, it means watch. So this tells you he was discernment. And then this other letter right here, the ra'ash in the Israeli language, resh, which means head, top, rank, beginning. So he understood protocol, right? Good with transitioning. So when we look at Jochebed or Yahkabad, right? 2 words that goes into this name, but look what it means. It means Jehovah glorified. In other words, Yahweh glorified. Some of you guys would say Yahuwah, not getting into all of that. The mother of Moses, as you see here, Jehovah's glory. All right. And we, as I pointed out, her name is 2 words combined. So I'm not going to break this down. No need for me to get into this here. But when we see the biblical usage of the name Yah, we see it's all through the ancient text. It's just that unfortunately, it's not transliterated. You only see it one time in Psalms, right? But in the ancient Hebrew, Yah, the short form, is all through the text. The very first Psalms, which is Exodus 15 chapter, Exodus chapter 15, that is the very first Psalms written by Moses and Miriam. And you'll see that his name is used here. Both the you'll see the short form. Then I have another passage showing you the full name. So where it says the Lord is my strength, the short that you'll see there is Yah. Yah is my strength, Azai or Azayah, right? And song, Zamarah or Zamarath, right? Or Zamar, right? And he is become my salvation. He is my Allah, my Allah Yah, and I will prepare him an habitation, my father's Allah Hayah, and I will exalt him, right? And I'm just reading, these are from the ancient Hebrew. But again, the key is you see Yah, the short form, Exodus chapter 17, verse 16. And you can write this down, family. You can confirm this. Go to the Blue Letter, some of these other online Bible apps, and you'll see Yah is all through what is called what has been labeled as the Old Testament. I refer to it as the established covenant. Why? Because there was no label called the Old Testament until the 2nd and 3rd century. The Old and New Testament, those are labels that was made up, right, with the goal of doing away with what is called the law and the prophets, and place the point of emphasis on just what today was called the Gospels and the letter of Paul and some of the other people that the church has deemed to be church fathers, right? I did a lesson on that. But anyway, but you see here, for he said, because the Lord, in other words, Yah, has sworn that Yahweh will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. Because you see the short form of his name and you see the full length of his name in this passage. All right. So I'm not going to get into all of this, family. I'm going to fast forward a little bit because I want to get to a key point. So both parents were respectable parents while living in bondage. All right. But the key I want to highlight is this portion right here where it says, when she saw him that he was a goodly child, right? The Hebrew word tawab. Some of you guys would say tob. Some of you will say tov with the instead of a beth, you will use it with the vet, right? But anyway, ancient Hebrew, tawab, right? But notice what it says here: 3 months. She saw him that he was a goodly child. This is Moses. So what does goodly mean in the Hebrew? It means to be, in other words, to be good or well, be better, do better. But the key is be right. That really should stand out for you. So she saw that her son, after 3 months, that he was right. So remember, the reason why she had to inspect him, the reason why you see this here is because there was some deceptions that was going on. Let me say that again. There was some deceptions that was going on by the Egyptians. So remember, the Hebrew mothers were to be deceived into thinking that there were complications occurred during giving birth is what killed their sons. Israel were not only growing strong in numbers and voice, but their potential became a threat to the Egyptians. Aren't we seeing that today? This awakening is a threat. This awakening is not like the other awakenings. This awakening is a threat because it is global. It is global. You got people in the Congos that it was brought to my attention, videos that are being made out there. People are waking up. Our people are waking up and saying enough is enough. Many of our sisters were doing natural things with their hair, so they're getting rid of the chemicals. Many of our brothers getting into making their own clothing for our people. So we are having an impact even on the finances here. We having an impact on the economy. So Israel, we're not only growing strong in numbers and voice, but their potential became a threat. We are a threat, family. Exodus chapter 1, verse 15 and 16. Notice what it says. And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives. So they wanted to use the people from within our community. They wanted the Hebrew midwives to become agents to push out their agenda. And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives. In other words, these midwives are supposed to assist in childbirth. These Hebrew midwives, of which the name of the one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other Puah. I'll say it again, which the name of one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other was Puah. Right? And he said, when ye do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then ye shall kill him. If it be a daughter, then she shall live. Isn't this playbook still going on right now? They targeted the men. The young men are being targeted right now. That's the Egyptian playbook. So they made it clear, telling the midwives, Hebrew midwives, to deceive their own people, to kill the young men, which this lines up to some of the laws that was passed in New York. I'm not going to read all of this article, but in this article, they legalized late-term abortion. Late-term abortion. Notice what it says. It also authorizes midwives. So you don't even, you could be any Joe Blow, I guess get a little certification. You can do abortions and physician assistants to perform some abortions. Midwives. That's what really stood out for me when I saw this law being passed years ago. Maybe think of what we're teaching right now. Lines right up with it. This playbook is still in play. And this particular article highlights how within our communities, there are more if a woman's pregnant, it's more likely that she will abort the seed than have it. Between 2012 and 2014, it says 285,127 induced abortions occurred. In that same period, 237,499 actual births. So there was more abortions than the actual births. So Planned Parenthood was in on this scheme, family. They made all kinds of money off of that. Over almost 300,000 abortions in that period. Minorities cramped into impoverished. This is Margaret Thatcher. This is her own. Sanger. I said Margaret Thatcher. Margaret Sanger. This is her own words. You can look it up. Minorities cramped into impoverished areas in inner cities should not be having so many babies. And of course, these minorities are inferior in the human race, as are the physically and mentally handicapped, as are the physically and mentally handicapped. My apologies, family. I know I'm butchering my reading tonight. But anyway, we should require mandatory sterilization of those less desirable and promote easy access to abortion. And since sex should be a free-for-all, make sex a free-for-all, right? But they know it's going to increase abortions. I remember in my high school, they introduced condoms and everything there. My freshman year. Because, when you're a freshman, when you're younger at that time, especially those that grew up in the 80s like I did, the 70s and the 80s, people were lying about all kinds of stuff. They were lying, saying that they were doing certain things. But when they introduced this into our schools, this took the fear out of. By the time I graduated out of high school, over half my class had babies, and some was on their second and third babies.
all because of this game plan. We must provide birth control and abortions to teenagers too. It's all for the great good and for a more intelligent, liberated, healthier population. So Moses was born during a time of a massive genocide. The king of Egypt spake to the midwives, right? And again, remember, a midwife is a woman who assists women in childbirth. So the Hebrew women were given instructions by the government: if their blood relatives gave birth to a son, then completely destroy him. In other words, kill. Moth means to get rid of, put an end to, or cause the failure of, or defeat something, to completely destroy. And so murder, right? I want you to understand is murder. Ratazak, Ratazak or Ratsak, right? That's the Hebrew word pronunciation of it, is the crime of unlawfully killing a person. It's the crime of unlawfully killing a person. But family, we done forgot that we're in wartime right now. When the enemy is killing our people, when they're slaughtering our people, they don't look at it like they're taking an innocent life. This is why the media purposely, and you guys can look it up, whenever a police officer innocently take someone from our community's life, they label it a kill. Police officer kill. They don't say police officer murdered. They say the police officer killed. And the reason why they do that is because they already trying the situation in the media. They already painting the narrative. So when you see the word kill, you automatically, your mind is going to say it was a justifiable reason for the police officer to do what they did. So when you see that word again, murder, right? Murder is taking someone's life, right? Innocently taking someone's life. But in Hasatan's eyes, he is not committing war on murder because he is at war. This whole agenda is at war. Come on, wake up, Negroes. Come on, wake up, Israel. Come on, wake up, Negroes. Come on, we are at war. See, this time of the year, right? The 10 plagues, it was spiritual warfare that occurred. Israel was in the spiritual warfare. When we think about the Passover or Pasach, the Most High skipped his judgment. He hesitated his judgment over his people who obeyed him. But he brought judgment on the entire land of Egypt. We are at war, family. Let me say that again. We are at war. We can't get around it. We are at war. We are at war. There's a spiritual warfare that is going on right now. And Israel was in the height of spiritual warfare. Can't get around it. All right. So 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8 reminds us of this. It says, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. In other words, he's on his game. He's proactively seeking to destroy us. So the king ordered the 2 supervising midwives to actually see that all baby boys were killed at birth while they were still on the delivery stool. They were ordered to kill all boys under 2 years of age without their mother knowing it. Come on, family. So the mothers were to be deceived into thinking that complications occurred during giving birth is what killed their sons. So this system of enmity, active hostility, ayaba in ancient Hebrew, wants you to think that there is complications in your seed of hope to justify aborting. In other words, giving up your benefits package, your relationship with the Most High, to forfeit your heritage. That's the whole delusion here. This system is set up to make you desire things that you already have, make you be ashamed of your skin complexion, make you be ashamed by the texture of your hair. Look what happened in the mid 70s, or not mid 70s, but the early 30s and 40s, how our brothers and sisters were putting processes in their hair, nothing more than perms. Now they find out now there's a class action lawsuit that those perms, that chemicals that's in it, causes cancer. They did everything to make us be ashamed of the things that we're naturally with. Never in a million years I'd have ever thought that sisters would go out here and get all kinds of implants on something that they already have. Same thing with the men. Men out here getting implants. Men, the whole wardrobe is it has changed, wearing all kinds of skinny clothing, feminine clothing, and all. It's completely changed, family. But that is a calculated agenda, right? So Sifra name means bright. Shifra, right? Shapara in the ancient Hebrew, name means bright. It means to be fair. It means to glisten or to be fair, glisten, right? So bright, fair, glisten. So this tells you that she was smart. She was a very smart, beautiful woman, right? Hebrew woman, right? But guess what? This is the stuff you won't hear the conscious community talk about. You guys remember when I dealt with this a little bit a while back? Guess what? You can go to this source here, a papyrus of the late Middle Kingdom in the Brooklyn Museum. Notice here on page 96, they tell you that in this papyrus, right, they found a Hebrew name. That's what this is saying. That's what this is saying. Sapra or Safra, but I'm saying it from the ancient Hebrew, Sapar, right, or Sapara, the familiar Hebrew and Aramaic stem. And it's still showing the consonants here, which means to be fair, beautiful, to shine, right? But notice it says here, it's telling us that this was located in this papyrus, right? Ultimately, the same Aramaic, right? We see it here. Name of one of the two Hebrew midwives, right? So why are we seeing the Hebrew name in this papyrus? See, many of us just look for Israel. No, you got to go deeper than that, family. That's what they want you to do. They just want you to look for Israel. 2 or 3 witnesses. In this document, guess what? It shows that you'll find Issachar written in the Egyptian text here, right? In this papyrus that is highlighting. You'll see another tribe name, right? That's here. Asher. Let me pull it up here. Right? Notice what it says. Asher, name of one of the 12 tribes of Israel and their ancestors. So we see 3, just this alone, we see 3 Hebrew names. Right? I'm not getting into all of this. I'm just fast forwarding. Right? So again, Pua, Shifra rather, the name, her name meant bright, brilliant, glisten, right? Pua, her name means glitter. It means brilliancy. So these were smart women. So the 2 midwives were obviously supervisors over all the Hebrew midwives because Israel's population was over 2 million. And this is confirmed when we go to Exodus, right? And this is the thing that I want to, Exodus chapter 1, it tells you how numerous there were early on in this chapter. But I really want to highlight this last portion right here, and I'll drop the link. It says, but the midwives feared and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them to do, right? Did not do as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the men alive, children alive, right? So fear, Yah-Ra'ah, or, that's what it means. That's the word in fear in this text. But it says the midwives, they decided not to do what the king told them to do, but they began to save these babies. And the king of Egypt called for the midwives and said unto them, why have ye done this thing? And have saved the children alive. And the midwives said unto Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are lively and are delivered eerie. The midwives come in unto them. So guess what? Come on, women within our community. You guys are built differently. When you think about the Passover, when you think about Pesach, when you think about all the captivities we had to go through, remember, you are built differently. You're not built like all the rest of these nations. We proved it, right? They got the mitochondria, right? The Eve gene that they discovered. That in all other nations, it's the same. But in our community, it's different. And they were able to go to the source and say that, hey, proving that we already know what the scripture says, that all comes from within us, prove that Eve was a melanated sister. Come on, family. I got the videos up on it. Go back and watch the videos. Right? Something special about us said for they are lively And also, guess what, man? I put the videos up. They have the DNA or the genetic or the scientific Adam proving that Adam, the original Adam, biblical Adam, looks like you and I, right? But nevertheless, it says, for they are lively and are delivered ere the midwives come in unto them. In other words, saying that they already delivered the babies before the midwives get there. So in a nutshell, when we see this word lively from a Hebraic perspective, it means vigorous, right? Kayawath or kaiwath, right? Hebrew means vigorous, right? So the Hebrew women were more vigorous in giving birth than the Egyptian women. The Hebrew women were slaves, which means or meant that they worked hard and were very physically, and that they were physically stronger. That's why even today, family, we have a natural athleticism to us. We have a natural athleticism to us. Why? Because look at all what our ancestors had to endure. Tens of millions of them died just getting to the first leg, just getting to the shores. Then those that survived on those ships and then make it through that, then get on these plantations, treated a certain way, but forced into this manual labor. So we have a natural athleticism about us. But the problem is now we start to have diseases that was never part of our community. Why? Because we're eating things that only other communities ate. Now they're making sure that processed food is all in our community. All kinds of GMOs and all kinds of crazy stuff is within our communities. Now we're seeing cancers that are happening that we never saw before in our community. All right. So they gave birth, and I'm going to upload a video over the next couple of days showing some additional things that they discovered about our DNA within our community. All right. So they gave birth before the midwives could reach them. So it's apparent that the Hebrew midwives came up with a plan that would allow them to reach their Hebrew sisters who labored late. Right. So what this is saying is that the game plan was they purposely delayed their arrival. So by the time they got there, the women had already given birth. Right. So again, the Hebrew women, guess what? They are lively, but not little. Let me say that to the men too. The Hebrew women, our women are lively, but they are not little, family. Let's treat our women with respect. The Hebrew women are lively, but they are not little. The Hebrew women are lively, but they are not mayat, the conscious community. Why did I bring this up? Because this is the Hebrew definition of mayat, right? Because, they want to push, the woman is this and they're mayat. No, in Hebrew, this is what mayat means. It means lessen, reduce, suffer to decrease, diminish, be little, seem little, bring to nothing. So the women in our community, y'all better not embrace that term mayat. That's that stuff that the conscious community is pushing. Did the ancient Hebrews have a goddess that they referred to as mayat? Absolutely. But in Hebrew, y'all better not embrace that mayat stuff. You're not little. You guys are not small. Anyway, just wanted to give you a little extra history here. How can I put it? A bonus, right? So again, therefore, Elohim dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very mightily, very mighty. And it came to pass, because the midwives feared Elohim, that he made them houses. So they got honored. But here's the kicker, family. This is the thing that I want to highlight. Look at what the Pharaoh, because the midwives didn't listen, he said, okay, this is what we're going to do. Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, every son that is born ye cast into the river, and every daughter ye shall save alive. So Pharaoh empowered every citizen, every Egyptian citizen, sound familiar, to be able to murder our children, our boys. Doesn't this sound familiar? Yes, this is the slave codes right here. This is the Barbados slave codes. This is this what the slave codes, or should I say the laws, were built off of. The slave patrols. This is where the laws of the slave patrols come from. This is what our ancestors were dealing with in Barbados. Our ancestors dealing here with here back in slavery, and we're still dealing with this. Anybody could come up into our communities and police it. This is where you get the term militia. We're the only community that could do that. You don't see militias going to the Jewish community. You don't see militias going to the Indian community or India community. You don't see them going to the Asian communities. You don't see them going to any other communities, but you see them coming to our community. Every son that is born, ye cast into the river, and every daughter ye shall save alive. Here's the Hebrew definition of the word cast. As we get ready, drop the link. It says to throw out, down or away, hurl, pluck, throw. Think about the abortions that are highlighted. Think about how they throwing out our babies like trash. Think about our brothers and sisters that are getting murdered in the streets. Innocent. Think about all the things that we've been subjected to as a people. Think about the stand your ground laws. Those laws weren't meant for us. How many people that look like you and I been successful using the stand your ground? There's a sister who was abused by her husband, defending herself because the husband was trying to kill her. Ended up getting like 15, 20 years. They wouldn't allow her to use the stand your ground. So to throw out, down, or away, hurl, pluck, throw. And that's where you get the spirit of vigilante from. All right. So wrapping this up, right? This is when we get into going back to the thought about Moses. This is why it said that Jochebed or Jochebed, this is why it said that she saw that her son was good after 3 months. Because of that, what was happening back there, many believed that there was something wrong with their child. So that's what they were thinking that caused the death of the boys. But 3 months, her child was still fine. Moses was still fine. So as you see here, she put him in an ark of bulrushes and dabbed it with slime. So this is saying how she prepared him for what? Transition, as we highlighted. And as you see here, this is the Bayath, which looks like look at from an aerial view, looks like the temple, looks like the tabernacle. And if you look at the illustrations of the ark, it looks almost like the ark. And then you see the Mayam, the water. So Moses was placed in an ark, a Thabath, an ark, right? Sealed, protected, and put into these waters to transition. So the ark was protected by the Most High. So Yah allowed the dangers within the water to pass over Moses, just like us. Come on, family. This is why Passover is different for us. The Passover should be different for us because we here in spite of, we're that surviving portion. The Most High allowed his judgment to pass over us. That's what the Passover means. The word Passover, Pasach, means to pass over, means to hesitate. It means to hop. And the Most High allow his judgment to hop over us. So every day we get to celebrate, not just once a year. Every day we should wake up with a praise that the Most High skipped his judgment, held back his judgment, allowed us to be awakened during this time that we live in. Right? So the reeds held the basket close to the shore and kept it from floating down the stream with the current. Okay? No crocodiles or wild dogs came along to threaten this child. And I said all of that to say, as you can see, alligator baits, we already know this, as you see here, was going up into the 20th century. So they were using our babies as alligator baits. Alligator bait, right? This is all what it's highlighting. And this is actually a song here. You could go to the Library of Congress and pull this song up and pull these images up. That's why you see courtesy of Library of Congress. So no one could think that or say that I'm just making this up or I doctored this. You'll see these images on the Library of Congress website, right? Alligator bait. This is actually an advertisement. And this is the song that some of the songs that they sang, some of the lullabies that many of us are singing right now to our children. Hushabye, don't you cry. Mammy's little pickaninny's going to get a present mighty soon. When the stars am a peeping and the moon am a creeping, Then your mammy's going to sing this tune. Shut your eye, by and by, ma'am gonna whip you if you cry. Summer Emma coming through the gate. Go to sleep, don't you peep. Listen to me tell you, use mammy's little alligator bait. And we're gonna stop right here, family. See how twisted it is? These so-called lullabies, right? We're singing our demise. These lullabies have us singing about what you want to call it, genocide, suicide, 10 little Indians. Y'all know what it means. Y'all seen the videos here. All right, family. So I'm dropping a link here. I just want to give a little history. Here. And I encourage you guys to watch The Road to Savannah. And I deal with these lullabies. Part 1, I deal with it extensively. In part 2, I touch on the alligator portion of it. And I share a book of lullabies that has all kinds of racist songs that they were using to teach their children. That 1 little, 2 little, 3 little Indians. Guess what? That's not how that song went. And they was using racist songs to teach their children to count. Right? 1 little, 2 little, 3 little Indians. Guess what? Actually, it was 1 little, 2 little, 3 little nigga. Get it? They said, how they talk about 10 little niggers, 10 little nigger, or whatever. They come up with all these different songs, how one chopped off and all this other stuff, and then there was none. They all of that, the true wording of those songs was 10 little, and I'll say it here, just in case they try to censor me. Sit down, nigga. 10 little what? Nigger. 10 little what? Nigga. 10 little what?
Strong's G 3526. Niger. Strong's G 3526. Niger.
Could you use it in a sentence?
Real nigga roll call. Niggas bleed. Jigga my nigga. Niggas for life. Real niggas don't die. Shame on a nigga. Suck a nigga. Ain't no nigga.
There you have it, family. There you have it. I know I put a little humor there. There you have it. So I'm going to open up the floor here. I dropped the link here. I know I wanted to just kind of talk a little bit more about the parallel of the Passover and how it relates to us so much, relates to us as a people so much. How you doing, sis?
Hey, bro. Happy Passover.
Likewise.
Just got to clean up the kitchen while you were doing your teaching. All my Passover food put up in the refrigerator. This is just interesting that you did this parallel tonight. I had to run some errands earlier, and just driving around just my neighborhood alone, and just to look at, I saw so many bunnies and eggs, decorations out in the front yard of these homes, and they're going to turn around. The same people who have this out in the yard, it's going to celebrate the resurrection. And they don't even see the correlation of what the resurrection is and what Passover is. And they just did communion last Sunday. And it still has not clicked in that that's the Passover. They're reading all what's going on in Matthew 26 and never stop to say, this is the Passover that we're doing. And you would think now, the knowledge that we have now and able to have the technology to get information, that would click in. And it still has not. And we're still repeating the same stuff over and over and over. I was reading all the places wherever we went we kept the Passover. Throughout the whole Bible, you can see the movement wherever we were, wherever captivity we were in, we kept Passover. But now, in 2023, we are still struggling to let go of Easter, Good Friday, and Resurrection Sunday, and the bunny, the Easter bunny and his eggs.
Well, sis, part of it too, and you and I talked about this as well. Most of our people don't read. Most of our people depend on the person that's giving us this information. So, and then when you look at, and we got to be real with the seminaries, it's an indoctrination.
Yes.
So you're not going to read the scriptures from the perspective of what we see. You're going to read it from the perspective of the agendas that they push. Because again, as I showed sources in one of the lessons I did over a year ago, almost 2 years ago, I think it's called I Don't Believe in God, but I'm not an atheist.
Yeah.
You know, when I talked about and showed a few sources how the Catholic Church purposely put the word Lord and God versus putting the name of the Most High inside the scriptures.
Correct.
You know, the whole agenda was to, you know, just put Christ's name, but not the Father's name. And that agenda will have you automatically give the power to the Pope to be the Father. And then they could do what? Do whatever they want to do. Look at what they did with this Shabbat. They made the Shabbat until first day of the week. So that delusion is strong. Even though, like you said, we have the technology to know better and do better. But unfortunately, most people, because of this stronghold, you know, like my old pastor used to say, if people have a choice of remaining the same or to change, no, that's what he said. He said, if the pain of change is greater than remaining the same, the people would most likely remain the same.
Right. Because it's easier and it's comfortable.
Exactly.
And they don't want to come out the mud. They want to stay stuck in the mud. All the rescues that come to help them get out the mud, they refuse the service because they want to stay stuck because they gotten familiar with it because they've been stuck in it for so long. And so when they create a new baby, they're going to be stuck in the mud with them. And so when everybody that comes along, they're stuck in the mud with them. And nobody wants to get out the mud. And finally when somebody says, oh, I want to get out the mud, and they start getting out the mud, then they're trying to pull them back into the mud with them. Oh no, where are you going? Are you losing your way? We like the mud. Something wrong with you. You're crazy. Why you want to leave the mud? You lost your way. It's to the point now. It's like the Most High is pressuring us, those who've awakened, to put pressure on those who are not awakened, no matter what it takes to get them to see that he's calling us. And they're going to be left trying to figure out what's going on when the real deal happens. And it's going to be too late. But
like I said, sis.
Oh, go ahead.
Like I said, sis, that delusion is real. You know, if you notice though, you see more and more pastors trying to look like they woke. You see more and more pastors wearing full beards.
Yep.
They're wearing dashikis and all kinds of stuff, but they're still pushing that agenda.
Yeah, of course.
They want to look like they're teaching the truth, and they still pushing that agenda. And so that just lets us know that the delusion is real. The deception is real. And pastors, they are the biggest copycats. You know what I mean? Whatever's working,
that's going to do
they're going to follow that trend as long as it's not teaching what we teach. They won't teach what we teach. But if the fashions, oh, you know what? We want to look like them. So let's grow out the full beards. So it look like we teaching the identity. We look like we teaching the truth. And we even say Most High in our words now.
Yes, exactly.
See, they saying Most High now.
Yep. That's the new lingo now to say. Absolutely.
They weren't saying Most High.
No, they're saying God and Lord.
You know what I mean? But many of them were saying Most High now. So many of them are starting to take on some of the
the lingo and the appearance,
Mm-hmm.
but still doing the same thing, still teaching what they teach.
Correct. Absolutely. The old school. Remember, we used to have the antenna on the back of the car, pretend like you had a cell phone in your car. That's what they're doing, driving around like they have a cell phone in their car, but still, you faking because you don't have a phone, because you're teaching the same old stuff, nothing new, and parading around making people believe something that's not really real. And it's sad in this day and age that we have not evolved enough. Still, we want to stay in the same stuck tradition. And you can feel the Most High moving us, pushing us. I've never felt a push like this before, ever in my life of living, of how you can feel him pushing on you to stay obedient, stay in his vessel, stay in his timing, stay with him. Don't do this, do this. You can feel his hand moving on you. And you can see what he's doing around the world. It's like you mentioned about Congo. I saw what Go Black to Africa play that video of that and how they broke that thing down. They said, we're waking this up too. We know, we understand who we are and who they're not. And went to scripture and just, wrote it all like we all did. You see this happening, but like you said earlier, it's always that one Negro. Oh, that's y'all some kind of cult, because that's what the media's told us. Y'all, that Hebrew Israelite, that's a cult. That's just nothing but another religion organization. You those people who pushing this new way of having church. That's not what God wants us to do. That foolishness. The same program, the same playbook. Whenever we try to progress and come out of the situation and start moving this direction, somebody derails it and we go right back.
And unfortunately, no matter how much truth you teach, some people still want to hold on to what they want to do.
Yes.
Because some of this stuff I've been teaching for years on top of years.
I know.
And people still want to hold on to what they want to hold on to.
Exactly.
They don't want to let go of the lie.
No. And it's funny, this song you have on the screen. I used to sing this song as a child, my grandmother, because she used to sing it to me to put me to sleep. We get in the rocking chair. And she would start singing the song. And now just to hear the lyrics at my age and how indoctrinated she was and how she indoctrinated me with the same thing. You can see it now. You can see the progress of the programming. And it's all over us. We are programmed every single day, and you have to fight against the program. Not for it to take a hold of you, to go back to that ideology of what we used to think, or what they're thinking.
Oh, think about it, sis. They know that they know this truth, man. They know this awakening is echoing, is really spreading like wildfire. Because look, they're trying to go back to push the Jim Crow laws again.
Oh, you better believe it.
Come on now, they already down in Mississippi got two sets of court systems now that they're establishing.
That's right.
So they trying their hardest to hold to tighten that grip.
Nope, they do not want us to assume a throne. They are beating, they fighting it, holding that line hard. That defensive line is holding hard. They do not want us to break it by any means necessary.
Yeah.
But you can feel that push. The Most High is pushing. He is not playing. If he got to continue destroying stuff all over this country, he's going to continue to do it to get our attention. These tornadoes are not going. These 60 tornadoes that happened this week, that wasn't for no joke. That wasn't just by any reason. He's doing all this stuff, and we're not even paying attention to it. Not even understanding that time is moving. You can see the time moving now. I mean, I wake up in the morning and the next thing I know it's 7 p.m. And I'm like, what happened for the day? When another day? Because it's moving quickly. It's a pace that you can't even, it's either you're going to hold on and move with it or you're going to be left or dropped. And you got to move with it. You got to change. You got to stay in time with it. And these feasts are important, especially this one. Above all the ones, this one is the one that we have to keep and hold on to.
Actually, me, I look at them all because of the different significance. Because even before the Feast of Passover, you had the Feast of Tabernacles that existed before then.
Right.
And sometimes, and when I think about the Feast of Tabernacles, for me, it's like, humble beginnings. And sometimes we could forget where we started from.
Right.
But to your point from the Passover, like I said, just the word alone, it means to hesitate. The Most High skipped his judgment over us. Because it wasn't like Israel was squeaky clean in Egypt.
Right. Exactly.
They began to indulge in some of the things, the ways of the Egyptians, because again, I use it as an example of them building a goat demon, a golden calf.
Exactly. And that's why I
so
said
where did they get it from?
That's why that was so important, because he could have killed us.
So
we just don't know how close it came to just non-existence. He said, no, forget it. Just wipe you out.
So yeah. So like I said, it's just unfortunately just the way things are right now. Many are not doing their due diligence because of how we've been programmed to even study. Because like I said, when for me, like I said, I always knew that I was Israel,
right?
But we grew up in the church.
Correct.
Right. But the key for me was when I actually did my own study, I just removed all my books, even though I still got to stack some inside this office here. I got stacked some inside my garage. But I had to completely throw those books aside. And I just sat down and read the scriptures free from any influence. Any influence. I mean, I done read the Bible several times,
right.
Read it for the first time from front to back when I was like 13 years old.
Right.
So, but the key is removing the scales.
You're right. That's
and what I did was I just went back over Torah, those first 5 books. I was like, let me get this down. And that's when I went back to the book of Genesis and when I started learning, taking Hebrew classes, I'll call it the Israeli language classes, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then start really going deeper and deeper with the language. Then I got to really see that it was more to it, far more to it. The lies, I was able to see the lies. And then when I read the Maccabees, that was a done deal. It was like, wow, we're gonna honor the feast days. We're gonna honor the Shabbat. And I was able to make it more applicable, right? More relatable versus how many teach it as a ceremony. It's like, no, it's more than that. Feast of dedication, to make it simple. It was just thanking the Most High that he blessed us with a place to worship at, to worship him at.
And that feast of dedication, has always been celebrated in church. We never pay attention to it.
Yeah, it's pastor's anniversary, the church anniversary.
Yes.
But the key is removing their name, removing their church name, and you put the Most High on it, and you do it during his time.
That's right.
Because
we have a new sanctuary. We blessed this new sanctuary and dedicated it, dedicated the new sanctuary and blessed it. Yeah. Many times I've done that. But it never clicked in.
Because the reason why it's not going to click in, because those are not, number one, those books are not even included in the Bible, the version of the Bible.
Correct.
So that portion is never going to click in, because if many pastors saw what I saw, read what I read, and the details of it, like I said, free from the ideologies that we were, subjected to.
Right.
then you'll be able to see, like, wait a minute, these Israelites, I mean, they pretty adamant. They would rather die. They're losing their lives, not even to fight on the Shabbat.
Right.
Wait a minute. Why are they doing all of this to make them do something that's against the scriptures? Trying to make them eat swine, eat pork, trying to make them do all kinds of things that's contrary. Okay, there's more to it. Now, if every pastor, true leader, a true pastor who has the desire for the things of the Most High, if they truly went into the scriptures and took that approach,
right,
I can guarantee you they would see things completely different. But again, many look at their assemblies as being a franchise. They look at it from a monetary perspective, like, oh, I don't want to lose members. Well, people don't belong to you from the beginning.
Correct.
To begin with. But that's how they view it.
Yep. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But yep, anybody but the Negro.
Yeah.
We want to be anything else but that. We say we just love the Lord, we love God, we know God, but we don't have a clue. Because if you did, you will not do the things you do. You don't even pay attention to the 10 Commandments. The covenant.
The Catholic Church makes it clear that they changed.
Yes.
They changed the Shabbat.
Yeah.
It's in their doctrine. Of
Absolutely.
them making it clear that they changed the Shabbat.
Yep.
And using this excuse of the so-called Resurrection Sunday.
Right. Absolutely. I read that. I read that whole entire edict, which is a law, a Roman law that still exists today. And nobody cares. That's like the biggest, what's the word I want to say? Strategic plan to talk about ruling the world. That rule the world. You want to rule the world? Do something like that. Create something of that nature where it influences everybody around the globe. That's powerful. And we never paid attention to that. And how powerful the Pope is. Because in essence, that's who their God is. It goes all back to them.
Well, and every pastor is treated like a pope.
Yep. That's right. Dress like him, walk like him. Exactly. You got to go to him to get permission. Counseling. Whole 9 yards. Instead of dropping on your knees and go to the Father. You go to him as the Father and call him the Father. A powerful Father. It's amazing. But yeah, we have been through so much, and you can see the deception that's going to. Did you hear what happened today in Israel and Palestine?
Yeah, over at the Temple Mount.
Yeah.
Yep.
On Passover. That should be a clue. Why have disruption of killing and bombing and fighting on Passover? No correlation. Nobody begs the question.
Let me do something while you're talking here. Okay. And family, if you have any questions, because like I said, initially I was on the fence of what to do. I was going to do a Q&A with the pastor. I may just do it tomorrow. Anyone that wants to ask questions. But if you have any questions before we wrap up and you want to, post it or jump on, feel free to do so. The link is inside the comment section for you to do so.
And I was going to share this here real quick since Sister Carol mentioned it. This is coming from, for example, this source right here, Faith of Our Fathers. Matter of fact, if I go back, this is several sources. But for example, Catholicism for Dummies, 3rd edition, page 256. Let me see if I have it up here. Let me see here. So why then do Catholic Protestants and Orthodox Christians go to church on Sunday, treating it as the Lord's Day instead of Saturday? In general, Catholicism and Christianity moved the celebration of the Lord's Day from Saturday to Sunday because Jesus rose from the dead on Easter Sunday. In other words, Sunday has become the Christian Sabbath, the day of rest to honor the day Christ rose from the dead. Jesus said in the gospel that the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. So Christians who wanted to honor their risen Lord on the day of the week that he rose from the dead made Sunday their day of worship. Instead of the former day of Saturday, which the Hebrews had honored from the time of Moses, and it's just making it clear here. Another source here. Now the scriptures alone do not contain all the truths which a Christian is bound to believe. See, this is that when they start getting into that so-called church father nonsense, but nor do they explicitly enjoin all the duties which he is obligated to practice. Not to mention other examples, is not every Christian obliged to sanctify Sunday and to abstain on that day from unnecessary civil work? Is not the observance of, well, where is it? Right here. The scriptures enforce the religious observation of Saturday, a day which we never sanctify.
Wow.
I mean, it's plenty of sources. Plenty of sources. The Christian Sabbath, this is coming from another source, the Sabbath question from the Roman Catholic standpoint. The Christian Sabbath, the genuine offspring of the union of the Holy Spirit with the Catholic Church. He espoused, and it goes on to say the claim of Protestantism to any part where therein proved to be groundless, self-contradictory, suicidal. But it goes on in just some of the points that we already made, where it says, for over 1,000 years before the existence of a Protestant, by virtue of her divine mission, changed the day from Saturday to Sunday. We say by virtue of her divine mission, because he who called himself the Lord of the Sabbath. See, all kinds of foolishness.
Wow.
All kinds of foolishness. I got more I could pull up, but I just wanted to just show just a couple of sources here. All right. Let me just drop this here. All right. Let's see. I see someone else jumped on real quick. Let me bring them on real quick, sis. And we'll go for another few minutes. Sister Kaya.
How you doing, Pastor Kelly? It's Kia, but I just want to thank the Most High God for allowing me to find your channel. I've been watching you for probably about a year or so now, and I've even been showing it to my young son. And I just want to add my commentary about the lies of the Christian church and the Sunday worship. Me coming from Baptist and then us going from Seventh-day Adventists, and we learned about the Sabbath and we thought we had it when we were in the Seventh-day Adventist church, and then the Most High God brought us into even more truth with understanding that we needed to drop those pagan holidays, such as what we are coming upon now, the worship of Ashtaroth or Easter. And we were keeping the Sabbath in the SDA church, but nobody was keeping the Passover. And when I humbly went to my biblical father at that time, well, my church father, I couldn't get any answers. I asked when I first came into this truth, because the Most High, he blessed me to be able to share with my parents, specifically my mom, before she passed. But when I asked my mom and asked my dad, they really didn't understand. So I went to the church pastor and I started asking questions. I was zealous about the truth. I really didn't understand a lot. and I basically got shut down, and I got the same rhetoric that a lot of our brothers and sisters say they get when they go to the pastors. You know, they kind of beat around the bush. They give them a loophole, or they make an excuse. So the Most High God showed me then and there that it was time for me to vacate. So I just want to thank you for doing what you're doing. I didn't have too much to say. I'm going to keep listening and being humble and just taking in this knowledge, like you said, like you've been saying on this live broadcast. And that's all I got for y'all.
Oh, I appreciate it. Appreciate it. And thank you for sharing that testimony about what you had to endure, even from being within the Seventh-day Adventists, because that's what's interesting. Like you pointed out, they deal with the Shabbat, but they don't deal with the feast days. You know what I mean? They don't. They still hold on to certain ideologies that stem from, some of the tenets from the Catholic Church.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, even though they do teach more of an honoring of the laws, the dietary laws and things like that, but they still don't completely go all the way with it.
Yep.
So I'm sure. Thank you, sis. Thank you for jumping on. Anyone you want to throw in the garbage can before we let you go?
Yes. Let's throw the Seventh-day Adventist Church in the garbage can. Let's throw Catholicism in the garbage can as well. Just throw them both in there.
Amen. Have a blessed night, sis. Love you, and hope and pray that you had a great Passover, or did you already celebrate it?
Yeah, we're finishing it off right now. Until Saturday, and I'm still learning. I prayed and asked the Most High to help me and help my son. I've been teaching him as I'm going along the way, because we found the calendar from our awakened brother. I think his name is Jediah Malek, and then another one of our brothers, Seed of Israel, laid out the Enoch calendar as well. And I know some of our people are getting ready to celebrate it coming up instead of finishing it off. So I ask the Most High God to have mercy on all of us, because we're kind of all over the place waking up. And I think it's Jubilee chapter 30. It talks about how, that we would have feast days wrong, but I know the Most High God, he's waking us up, and I'm hoping he have mercy on us all, as at least we are starting the memorial process of remembering, our feast days and coming back. I know he's going to give us all the truth and, bring us all into the exact days, whoever of us is off. But I am finishing out my Passover.
I appreciate it, sis. Appreciate it. And
right,
let's give the garbage cans to those groups that you mentioned.
Yes, sir. Much love. All right. Peace and blessings and shalom.
All right.
And
Peace
much
and
love
blessings.
to you.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. Who else do we have here? Keisha Cowwood.
Hi, Pastor Kelly. Hi, Sister Carol. It's Kisha, but I do answer to Keisha.
Shalom.
How are you today? I just wanted to come on and share that I'm from the Virgin Islands, and in the Caribbean, we have just as many, I would think, denominations as you guys do on the mainland. And being a young child in the Virgin Islands, I grew up in the Anglican church because my dad's family were from the British Virgin Islands. So they were more Episcopalians and Lutherans and that type of denomination. But my mom's family, they are from the British Virgin Islands as well, but also the French Virgin Islands. So they are Catholic. And so we had all of those meshings, and then we have Baptists and Methodists, and as people leave the Catholic Church, they'll go to like the Methodist Church or the Baptist Church, and we had all of those meshings in my family. And it's so funny, growing up, we always had a photo of the last, or a painting of the Last Supper, and a painting of Jesus by himself, the one that they had back in the 70s with him by himself holding up his hand with the heart on fire with the cross.
Yeah.
And so I just think about all of that indoctrination day after day, year after year, generation after generation. And we're really committed to it because we've been taught to be committed to it, and we've had our whole history stolen from us. Like most of us don't even know our original family names. And so because it was such, they were so committed to destroying every vestige of who we were and us acknowledging who we were and remembering who we were, not only just acknowledging it, but remembering who we were forced to forget and not to teach to our children, and the ones who knew they killed. So that our people today are so confused and so sometimes unwilling to accept the words as they are written in the Bible, even when the knowledge is given to them. It's I kind of anticipate that, but God is so good, and I know we're not supposed to use the word God. Yahweh is so good that he is opening us up even in the midst of all of that confusion, and he's sending teachers and pastors like you and to just open up the word to us and show us what we don't know and show us what we may have confused or just misunderstood. I've had the Bible read in church. I've read the Bible with my family, but I'm telling you, there's been an awakening, and you've shared things, and I've heard things from other people, and it's becoming so clear to me that I've seen these scriptures before. I've read them. I've felt them deeply, but I never ever understood, and I wasn't meant to understand. And our people weren't meant to understand it. Some people will hear and they will immediately understand and say, yes, that's true. I can understand that. That makes sense. And some people, it takes a little longer, but think of the centuries it took to break us in this way.
Absolutely.
And so I give our people a little bit of grace, not the ones who are going to seminary and going to theological schools and are supposed to know, not the ones who are really grifters in our community, but the ones who sincerely love the Lord and just don't know, they don't understand, but they will come to it too. I remember, even though I didn't know the scriptures, I knew Jesus was black. Even though my grandmother had 2 pictures on the wall, big old paintings showing him as white, I knew that he was black, and all my cousins knew that he was black, and my aunts and uncles knew that he was black, but nobody was going to tell her anything. We were not going to mess with her understanding. And that's in our families too. I remember being little and thinking, why do we have this picture up when we all know that he's black? And I never had the courage as a child to ask my grandmother, why do we have a white Jesus on the wall if he's black? Because I just didn't want to fight that fight. But even in our people today, that
and
fight.
you know what's funny, real quick too? We knew that we was Israel. My grandmother had that picture.
See,
you know, she was telling us that we're Israel, but she had that hippie looking blue-eyed old picture. She had that same picture. At that same picture that you saw on Good Times and everything. She had that same picture. Even though she telling us, they letting us know that we're the people of the book, but she had to keep that picture up, you know, didn't want to take it down.
And
like
do you
Michael
remember
Evans
those
in Florida Evans?
Right.
Over the picture.
Right.
Michael was the first one brother.
That's right. When JJ painted the wino as Jesus.
Yeah.
You know what's so funny that you say that? My grandmother's favorite Bible was this huge white leather Bible. I mean, it was huge.
I know.
Yes,
my
it was
had
huge.
My mother's house.
And it had the Last Supper on it, and the photo would shift, like they would shift positions as you move the cover of the Bible.
Correct.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, the overlay.
We had the same one, And then she always had to turn to the 23rd book of Psalms, and it would sit right open on the table, the coffee table. And now those are the only pages. I mean, everything else was white, but those pages were like yellow and dusty and everything. Yeah.
Well, I have to say, to my grandmother's credit, I will have to say she actually would close it because she liked her stuff pristine. I mean, she would open it and she would read it and she would go through it, and that was her Bible of choice because the lettering was a little bigger for her, and so it was easier for her to read. So that was the Bible she always read. And to her credit, I would say she really did read her Bible. She really did love the Lord, and I really did learn anything that I knew coming up as a child into adulthood, I learned from going with her to church because she was the only one that would take me. You know, and she was the only one who would teach me and explain things to me. So without her, I wouldn't have a love for the Lord, and I wouldn't have been open to hearing the truth from you, because I would have heard the scriptures from her first.
Yeah.
So even in that, I think I'm so grateful, you know, God has a plan, and forgive me, I'm trying to change my language, but Yahweh has a plan because he uses what we do have to open us up to what he wants us to have. And so I'm so grateful to you. I'm so grateful to people like Sister Carol who get on and really talk about the scriptures and talk about history, because connecting the scriptures to history really works for me. It really gives me the full understanding of not only the world that we live in now, but why we live in this world now.
Correct. Yes. And you know, too, I would say for me too, and this was hard as a pastor, right? But when I really went back over, like I shared, what is referred to as the Gospels, even though I refer to them as the good news. When I really studied that, I went right back out over it, free from all the, the seminary stuff. And one of the things that we're programmed, even as when we were in the church, is you're more dependent on commentaries than actually reading the scriptures for yourself. So getting rid of all those different things. And when I really started, like how the church, they say, do what Jesus do. Do what Jesus did. I was like, okay, well, I started reading it for free from all that stuff. And I was like, wait a minute, Christ. He was a boss here. Wait a minute. Christ is no joke here. He was this wimpy, hippie guy here. It's like, wait a minute.
He was
like, wait a
hardcore.
minute. He told his disciples, wait a minute, y'all go out. Y'all got a treasury with you. You got resources with you. Got money with you. Go out there and sell your coat and, arm yourself, protect what you have, protect this treasure here. And when he beat up the money changers, it wasn't, it wasn't, it was like, hey, he wasn't what we've been painted of him today, what is painted of him today. But that's what was being taught about the Messiah. That's what they refer to liberation theology up until the middle of the 19th century.
Right.
And then there was a sudden shift, it started with our people to teach this feel good stuff, this inspirational, this motivational thing,
to stop us from rebelling.
Exactly. And that's the key.
Prosperity teaching.
And they were doing just as bad as the people that oppressed us. They had the whole brown paper bag thing going on as well. And who they would be in certain positions and everything, as far as if you were lighter, equivalent or lighter, you got to be in certain positions.
And within our own families, it separated us. Education separated us. Color separated us. I mean, money separated us. It was so diabolical.
Absolutely. And hey, before you guys go on, hey, Dora L, how you doing, my brother? I saw him in the background. I ain't want to hold him up too long.
Oh, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing great.
That's good.
I
just want to, I put 3 books. Well, they're not really books. Well, 2 are books, and the one is a study about cardiovascular, how they prove that cardiovascular events in Black Americans is caused by racism. That's a free item. You can look it up and get that data. It's very interesting about how they connected that to racism. So that's a very good read, the information in it. And the other 2 books that I put in there are chock full of information. I would suggest that you get them and read them. They tie hand in hand with what you're talking about already tonight. The one by his name is Rob Shul. It's the Christianity Deception, full of sources, talks about the history of Catholicism and how they went into it and changed the laws. So it's just packed full of sources and all that. And also the other one, which is, it's only a 70-page book, but it reads like it's a 200-page book. And it talks about slave Christianity and how that we've been socially, programmed to, actually be socialized by white Christianity, and how they used it and how it's still being used to, have us in a escapism position, because it talks about all about the psychology that was used in order to bend us to the will of being the inferior host in this country. So those 3 items, I would suggest you get them and read them. Chock full of information, very insightful, very helpful.
I appreciate you sharing that. I went on that, brought it up on the screen so people could see it. So I really appreciate that. And that's one of the things many of us don't truly understand or know and understand, just the influence of the Catholic Church, even though many will say, hey, you know what, we're not Catholics. Yes, you are. You know what I mean? Oh, no, we're non-denomination. You're still Catholic. You're still following the same tenets and everything. And I remember when I really started separating myself from that stuff. And I think the last straw, I was at an installation of a pastor that I got invited to. And the pastor that I found out that they were installing was a guy that had a reputation of being gay, messing around with men. And when I saw that was that person, I was like, whoa, I took the collar off and everything. I was like, I am not wearing this choke chain anymore. And it just confirmed it. I was looking for that sign, and that gave me the confirmation. That,
well, we got to remember, just a couple of years ago, you had Kenneth Copeland and all of those other pastors talking about going back into the Catholicism, joining back with Catholicism. So,
they what was they called? They were repenting and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So they're going back to their mother. So that's their mother. So
but unfortunately, a lot of our brothers and sisters idolize those guys. They will read their material before they read the scriptures. You got people with that. I mean, that's why many of these pastors, many of these what you call it, televangelists and all those guys, they make money off of their material, like commentaries and daily devotions. That's big in the church, daily devotions. People will read a daily devotion before they actually read the scriptures.
Yep. Absolutely.
Sound like the Talmud.
Yeah.
Well, it's the doctors of men on both sides.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, appreciate you, Dora L. Who you want to throw in the garbage can? Because I know we gotta get ready to wrap this up here, because it's getting kind of late here, and I got to get up early in the morning too. I didn't realize it was almost 1 o'clock. But who you want to throw in the garbage can, Dora L? Let's start with you.
Wow. Who do I want to throw in? How about Donald Trump? He deserves the garbage can.
Well, if everything, I guess, go as planned, he's gonna get more than the garbage can.
Yeah, I hope he do.
Yeah, we throw him in the garbage can.
Hey, could we get one to go for him too?
Yeah, my I got a delay on my end for some reason. These clips are coming in on a delay. So let me try this again. Let's give them a 3-piece.
In order to go.
Absolutely. Let's give him his order to go. Absolutely.
Yeah, I hope that's the prison cell that he's going to.
Absolutely. Give him a taste of my medicine that I've been getting from YouTube. So that way, whatever years he get, you know, I guess later on down the road, he'll be doing this here.
Yeah, remind me of that episode of Boondocks with the booty warrior.
Too funny.
So and family, let's keep in prayer our family, our brothers and sisters that's up in the New York area, because things are very tense up there, you know, because of what's happening with the protests dealing with Donald Trump. So let's keep our brothers and sisters lifted up in prayer, and let's be watchful where we are, because you have a lot of, excuse the term, but it's the truth, nutcases, you know, that seeing Donald Trump locked up would want to act out their frustration, so to speak, you know. So, you know, all he has to do is say something, you know, like send a subliminal, and they ready to react, you know, kind of like what you see at the insurrection and what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia. Just be very mindful and conscientious of your surroundings. Wherever you go, just pay attention to who's around you, what's around you, and you know, and just move accordingly.
Yeah.
So, all right, bro. Appreciate it, my brother Dora L. We got to get caught up, man. I know it's been a while since we talked offline, but let's get caught up.
Yeah. You know, I do what I do, man. I have my head in the books.
Absolutely. You'll send me something every now and then. I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, he got that one on. Yeah. Okay, he got that one. You know how we do. Like, you got that one, man. Okay. You know how we do. But appreciate you, my brother. But let's connect offline, all right?
All right, we'll do.
All right.
Okay.
And sister, I hope I pronounce it again. Keisha,
It's
right?
Kisha. It's Kisha.
Kisha. All right. So anyone you want to throw in the garbage can?
I always want to throw Greenblatt and the ADL in the garbage can. Always, always, always.
All right, let's give them the garbage can.
Thank you so much, and you have a wonderful evening.
Likewise. And you know what's interesting about the ADL that you mentioned, though? The Southern Poverty
Law Center.
Law Center was founded by two of the founders were from the Jewish community.
Yeah. The sad thing is, we've gotten so paranoid we can't even speak the truth anymore. The simple truth.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, Pastor. I know it's getting late and I don't want to keep you, but thank you for all that you do.
All right. Appreciate it, sis. Have a blessed night. Remainder of the night. Okay.
You too. And you too, Sister Carol. Good night.
Good night. Bro, go ahead and close it on out.
All right. Who you want to throw up in the garbage can, sis?
Oh, Jill Biden. Dr. Jill Biden, so-called First Lady of the United States of this country called America. Throw her in the trash can, roll her around the trash can, have the pickup trash truck come pick her up and take her to the dump field and dump her off.
Oh yeah, and I was going to do a video, but it's a little too late for me to do it. I may do it tomorrow, but I give props to let's show some love for Angel Reeves, because she clapped back hard. She did not accept the invitation. Guess what she said? She said she recommend. Yeah, exactly. She said I recommend. Let's go over to see Barack Obama.
Let's go over and see Barack and Michelle.
Let's go over to Barack and Michelle. Let's go over there. We don't want to go to the Bidens.
Right. Exactly.
That's a major clapback. I was like, what? That was good. So I give her credit for being so young and standing her ground and being unapologetic for what she had done.
Correct. Absolutely.
So yeah, we have to put the Bidens with the garbage can. We have to give them the garbage can as well.
That's right, both of them.
Absolutely, and we're gonna have to give them a 3-piece.
You need to incorporate the Bernie Mac slap in there too.
You know, and I got to give them their order to go as well. Run, gotta shut it down. Got an early morning. You know, man, I didn't even realize almost 1 o'clock. So I'm only going to probably get about 4 or 5 hours of sleep. But thank the Most High for allowing us to be here today. But you guys have a blessed night. In the words of Moses, by way of the Most High. Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 to 14. Fear ye not, stand still, see the salvation of Yahweh. These Egyptians that you see here today, you'll never have to deal with them again, or they won't have power over you ever again. The Most High will fight for you, but here's the kicker. We have to learn how to hold our peace. Can't go back, can't stay here, keep moving forward.
Listen, Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this back, Genesis 14, verse 13, Abraham steps on the scene. Being a descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was black. Abraham, born in the city of a black man, called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Canaan. Here, let me do some explaining. Abraham, Isaac was Jacob had 12 sons, for real, and these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10.